Whoa, you guys ever fished stick marsh before?
It's probably a bad decision, but JT let me come over again.
The fish are either spawning or they gotta be close, right? But they don't all do it at the same time. So the one thing you wanna have, especially in my opinion, early morning and late evening, you wanna have some kind of vibrating jig on there.
We're actually gonna go to stick marsh tomorrow.
Cover some water with that thing. Remember or mark a waypoint wherever you get bites out in the outside eelgrass. Like just mark something so you can come back and worm that later. But a chatterbait early, but a swimming worm or a stick worm, like from 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, like that's the deal. Unless you have some weather, unless you got some, some wind or some overcast or something like that.
I definitely have a dangle stick tied on. And I got the new Bait Fuel Injector, so we might put that to use because I think there should be some spawning fish out there. As long as we're here, I'm gonna show you how badass his crib is, dude. So he's got the falcon right here, deers, turkeys. He's got a bar right there, dude, a pool table, giant map of headwaters. He's got some crazy saltwater stuff over here too. Check this out. That's his signature series drop shot weights right there. Those probably are worth more than like all of the reels I have on my boat. He's got some crazy stuff. What else you got?
We got cold beers. Gotta hydrate.
That's going to be it. It's always cool hanging out with JT. We will see you guys in the morning out on Stick Marsh. We're going to put some of his advice to use and see if we can't catch some of these big old Palm Bay bass.
Wow. How they make them in Palm Bay. She's hooked outside the mouth too. There she is. Just ripped it off that stuff and she smoked it. That's a better one. Isn't that interesting? So I've missed a couple bites. Like throwing this chatter donker, I gotta drop the power poles. And every bite I missed is when that chatterbait was kind of stalled. It's a nice 3-pounder right there, dude. That is a grown, healthy fish. It's just on a jackhammer, a 3/8. Dude, and check this out. Hooked outside the mouth. That's because she was coming up and swiping at it. So that tells me something right off the bat. I gotta make these fish react. I got a lot of baits out. Every time I make another like 2 casts, I get something else. So let me show you what I kind of collected on my deck. So down here, we got a Devil's Horse wannabe. I got a stick bait. This is one of my little sneaky favorites down here. That's a mag fluke. Looks just like a shiner, but it fishes pretty slow, casts really well. And then over here, we got the big old chatterbait, 3/8 ounce jackhammer, catalyst spinnerbait, and then a trap. We caught a whole handful of fish, chatter donker, just a jackhammer 3/8 ounce with a Komodo on the back, and then dragging a stick bait, dragging that JB Blue Gambler. So what I'm kind of wondering is some of the fish that we caught up shallow were peeing, right? Like, so they're like males and they're trying to move into spawn. I'm gonna get out the hated ball and chain. So I got a Carolina rig. This is a little trick that we do in Florida. It's a light Carolina rig. It's a little different than what you'll see me doing on the river up in Alabama, in that it's a 1/4 ounce, or I'll use a 3/16, maybe like a 2.5, 3 foot leader, not super long, usually more like 2 to 2.5. And I'm just gonna take like a straight tail worm. They seem to be biting a little bit funky, so I'm gonna get out. This is a power bait max scent right here. What I might do too is get out my little Bait Fuel Injector, put an ace on there. But I'm gonna drag a Carolina rig and I'm gonna do it in some of these stumps. So the reason they call this place Stick Marsh is there's all these stumps out here, dude. You gotta be a little careful when you run around, but there's like rows of stumps. So I used my Lowrance to kind of identify where they were at, where there's little groups of them. And I'm gonna go up on them, use my active target, not so much fish forward facing, but look for movement in those stumps and throw that Carolina rig. It'll keep the bait off the bottom, which I think is key. I think these fish are a little higher in the water column, and drag around and see if we can't pull on a few. That's a good one. Dude, he just stopped it. I got out the Carolina rig, dude. So I'll explain it to you guys in a minute, but this is the biggest one we caught all day. And I think I might have figured something out. Yeah, that's a 4.5, 5-pounder. So what we did, let me get her back. She's been caught before, you see that? Get her back. What we did is we got out the Carolina rig. This is a Florida Carolina rig though. It's got a little 1/4 ounce on it. got a little power bait max scent, and we caught a bunch of little ones up in this shallow area, and I think the bigger ones are still kind of staging. And we're on stick marsh, so there's sticks, right? There's stumps all through here and a little bit of grass, and I think them bigger fish are just kind of hanging out in them stumps looking to come in. So fishing these stumps in this Carolina rig deal, I think it's real. I don't know if I can catch a great big one, but there's something to it. But one of my favorite baits to throw down here this time of year, you guys seen it in the Toho video, it's a Gambler Ace. This is a June bug, green pumpkin, best of everything. The only issue with it is it has like garlic scent, but I want to I'm really soaking the bait to get these fish to bite. So I'm gonna put this thing on the Carolina rig, and I just got the new, it's the Bait Fuel Injector. Kind of scary needle, right? So there's bait fuel in there, and since I'm letting it sit so long, what I can do is I can take this bait, I can inject the needle. Just be careful. Oh, see, it injects it inside the plastic, and basically I can leave a little more of a bait trail or like a scent trail. Just be careful of that needle. And it sort of disperses. A lot of times when you rub that bait fuel on there, what'll happen is it kind of washes off. You have to reapply a lot, and this way it's sort of inside the bait and it'll disperse as I fish it. I'm still gonna have to re-up from time to time and put some more on it, but it's a good way to kind of get it inside the bait, so there's sort of like a dispersal as you're dragging it, and especially when I'm fishing this close quarters and slow dragging, I think it makes a difference. That might be her. Oh dear, here she comes. That's a freaking giant, dude. That is a giant, the old Carolina rig and some bait fuel. Oh, here she comes. That's like a 7-pounder, bro. We're just gonna take her. Gotcha. Oh, dude, on the old stick bait, dude, it kind of got slow, but when you do that, that's what it's all about.
It's a nice freaking 6-pounder right there, dude. Let's get her back to beautiful fish. Still never run some money. Best one to go. Daps, boys. That C-rig deal was the game. Like getting out a little bit deeper where you think they're kind of pre-spawn and just grinding on them, dude. We caught a bunch of males, and then she showed up. So let me show you this because it's kind of interesting. It's fishing like with forward facing, but not really fishing forward facing. So I got my active target 2 pointed out, and this is kind of the stuff that I'm looking for. This is a stump, that's a stump, that's a stump. Do you see how there's a few fish around there? And then you'll see one kind of swim out of here every once in a while. But basically, I've seen a lot of stumps that are absolutely barren. So when I'm trolling around and casting around that Carolina rig, if I see something like that, that's when I drop my power poles and I make a lot of casts. Like I said, I'm not specifically fishing each stump, but I'm trying to cast around those areas, hoping that I can draw those fish off with the Carolina rig. Oh no, that's a stump. That's a big dude. She was right behind it the whole time. Don't do it. You know what's funny, guys, is I think I saw this fish on active target. That's a donk, dude. I think I saw her behind my bait on active target. Like, oh my God, this is, come here. Bro, that is Donkopopolis right there. Look how fat that fish is, dude. Look how, dude, that's another 5-pounder. We figured something out, guys. This is freaking cool. Little Donkopopolis. You see that thing? What you got down there, honey? Let's get you back. Figure a little something out, boys. That turned into a pretty awesome day, dude. Caught a couple big ones, caught a whole mess of fish. I can see why JT lives over here in Palm Bay, dude, because it's fun. There's a bunch of grass. It kind of reminds you of old school Okeechobee, and stick marsh has changed a bit, and it's kind of cool. There's a lot of cane heads that I think are going to play as they spawn in that and the waves move in, especially when the brim spawn. But the real highlight of today was this guy right here. And Peter T actually made this famous. Like, a lot of guys think
a Carolina rig is a deep water, like river fishing tool, and that's just not the case. He sort of figured out this whole shallow water. I think he did it a lot on Lake George, which is a shallow kind of eelgrass, or back then there was eelgrass out there, but a shallow eelgrass flat, and that light Carolina rig. And when I say light, anywhere from 3/16 to a quarter, sometimes even an 1/8 ounce, just very light, because oftentimes you're dealing with grass and you're dealing with shallow water. You don't need it like super digging into the bottom. You're just trying to feel for the bottom and keep it gently on the bottom, but have that bait elevate over the grass. And when they don't bite, which is kind of what happened this afternoon, we caught a whole mess of fish throwing a chatterbait, throwing that dragon worm this morning, but then about 11 o'clock it just kind of shut off, and I wanted to try to catch some bigger ones, so I pushed out to some of these stumps and just found that first break. We always talk about it, know where they're going, know where they're going to end up, where they're going to spawn, and backtrack from there. And that's exactly what we did. And it really was key, just dragging this thing. I'm talking so slow. It was basically fishing a Senko, but with like a Carolina rig on it. It was a weightless style Senko kind of presentation. You just drag and let it sit there, count to 3, think about pretty girls that you met years ago, and just really take your time with it. And that was the key to catching those bigger ones. Every single boat that was down here this morning is gone. They left 3 or 4 hours ago, and that tells me one thing. It was not easy to catch them, dude. And even though we caught them, it was not easy to catch those fish too. But it's highly enjoyable. I always depend on that ace, either a fat ace or an ace out here, just your classic stick bait. And I really do think in a situation like this where it was tough to get them to commit, that Bait Fuel Injector, I hate scent. I'm not a huge fan of it, but the reality is that stuff just, it makes them bite. It's not a scent. It's sort of like an activator, an enzyme that really drives them nuts. And when you're fishing this slow, every aspect, every little tweak that you can make to your presentation to get them to bite and get them to actually hold on to the bait, because we missed a ton of fish because of that, is absolutely key. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Try yourself some light Carolina rigging this spring. It's a sneaky little deal, and not many people do it. Everybody's throwing it out deep, but the ball and chain up shallow can be absolutely killer. I will see you guys next time back out on the water, hanging out with JT, and hopefully catching some bass.